I have to be here. So,
I think it says our final thing is that day.
yeah, on the 24th. You'll turn in a hard copy of your final project.
The final, what's it?
Okay, so I'm going to show you something that you can use in your regular classroom, not music at all, that I used to use when I was teaching first grade, which I love. So the only way that I know how to access it is if you go to my home library page from where I grew up. It's called Kanawha County Public Library, not Kanawha, okay, Kanawha. And then you go, here's the main page, well, and you go over here to the Kids Zone, which takes you to this page, like this, and you scroll down to Tumble Books, and then you click on that, and it takes you over here, to this right here. So this is, Tumble Books is, that's not what I wanted.
Oh, Duck Rabbit.
Okay, yeah, hold on a second. All right, so here's the beginning. They have all of these like really cool chapter books, videos, graphic novels, playlists, nonfiction books. You can click on any of these and look and explore that on yourself, on your own time. So today we're gonna go over here to Storybooks and click on that. And what this does is it brings up a list of books that you can sort by different things. I don't know why this is being so weird right now. That's whatever. So, and all of these stories are animated books that read to your students, okay? And the words are highlighted so that students can follow along. Also, they're correlated to AR, which is Accelerated Readers. Do you know what those are? Accelerated Readers, if you don't know, are a system that a lot of schools have in place to promote extra reading. And you get prizes for advancing through the levels. Okay? So also, this grade, K through 2 right here, is for this book right here. What that means is that it's appropriate to read to kindergartners, but second graders could possibly read it on their own. Okay? So, and here are the Common Core standards, right there. Do they have any kindergarten standards here? Are there any kindergarten standards there? No, because it would say K dot something. This is just 1 and 2. So it's only Common Core for first and second grade. So I probably wouldn't use this in kindergarten. Okay? Any questions about how to get here? There's, you can sort by theme, you can sort by author. There's a whole bunch of books on here that are free for you to use. Got it?
On Blackboard.
It's not on Blackboard. So we're going to read this book today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Can I make a cop? Oh, never mind.
What is it?
Never mind. It's not like on topic.
What is it?
We read at High Street, the High Street neighborhood center, and the lady that's in charge of it puts the books together, and for the 2-year-olds, they theme it by ocean, desert, whatever. So we did ocean yesterday, and Swimmy was one of the books in there.
Oh,
Don't you love swimming?
Yeah, and me and Aaron got all excited. We were like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
The same person that illustrated Swimming illustrated Eric Carlisle's books.
Oh yeah.
So it's the same exact kind of that whole
Yeah.
hodgepodge, kaleidoscope.
Yeah, it looked
type.
really cool.
Yeah. So I like using that in an actual classroom, but for this, I just would rather watch the video. Because
Yeah, no,
I
I was
don't own
just
the book.
saying
So.
that. Yeah.
That's really cool, yay.
Whee.
Did you do the lesson with them? With the
No,
scarves
we
and
didn't have
everything?
enough time.
Fair enough.
The Man with the Violin. Dylan was someone who noticed things. His mom was someone who didn't. One Friday in January was a day like any other. Until music. The high notes soared to the ceiling. The low notes swooped to the floor. All the notes swirl and sweep around, the blur of people rushing here and rushing there. The music is telling an exciting story. It makes the hairs on the back of Dylan's neck tickle. Mom, wait! The man with the violin sways this way and that. His fingers move quickly. His bow dances across the strings. The skittering notes make Dylan want to dance too. Then the music slows, and the man's eyes close, as if the music is carrying him from bustle, 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 to somewhere far, far away. Please, Mom, can't we stop? Please. If only they could listen for even a minute. Not today. The man with the violin leans forward. His music makes Dylan's skin hum. Someone begins shouting, blippity blappity, blah blah blah. Dylan leans towards the musician, trying to hear. From the violin comes the saddest sound he has ever heard. The man turns in his direction. Their eyes lock. But the escalator pulls Dylan down, 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 and away. Bursting out of the tunnel, a loud clattering. Dylan strains to hear the music, but rumble, rumble. The train gobbles up the faint notes with its roar. All day the music Dylan heard that morning plays in his head. On the way home, he says, Mom, do you think maybe that man will still be there? His mom says, what man? Rain patters, dishes clatter. A voice on the radio drones on and on, until suddenly, music, telling the story that makes the apartment bigger and brighter. And Dylan shouts, that's the man in the station. The music fades. The voice on the radio says, today, over 1,000 people have the chance to hear one of the finest musicians in the world. Joshua Bell was playing some of the most elegant music ever written on one of the most valuable violins ever made. Yet few people listen for even a minute. Dylan says, I knew it. We should have stopped. We should have listened. Into a pot of bubbling water spills the spaghetti. Again, the musical story slips and slides through the air, and Dylan can almost see the man with the violin standing on tiptoes to reach the high notes. Dylan, you're right. His mom turns up the radio, loud and sweet. The music fills every corner of the apartment. And together, Dylan and his mom dance. Together, they listen.
Okay, so that's the end of the story, and then they go on to actually talk about Joshua Bell and how he's an actual real musician. He's a very famous violin player who plays on a Stradivarius violin, which is probably worth millions of dollars, honestly. I know that even cheap violins, quote unquote, I had a friend of mine that played in the orchestra back home in Charleston, West Virginia, and his violin was probably worth like $75,000. Right. So, I mean, you know, and that's like considered a fairly inexpensive one. Right. Okay. So, here's what I'd like for you to do. I would like for you to stand up and go sit with your micro-teaching partner, please. If you do not have one, raise your hand. Okay.
I know mine's who it is, but they're not here.
Okay, who is it?
Liz.
Liz. You don't have a partner, you don't have a partner. You know, is anybody Morgan's partner? Does everyone know? Go stand with your micro-teaching partner, or go sit with them right now.
Here.
Do you want to move up here? Or?
Yeah, I'll come up there.
Okay.
Who's your micro-teaching partner? Elizabeth, okay, got it. She is not here, that's good. Okay, you two, boom, partners. And then yours is not here either, correct?
Correct.
Cool. So here's what I'd like you to do. Just take about maybe 2 minutes, get out a piece of paper and a pencil, And I need for you to brainstorm some ideas of how you can incorporate music into this story to further some other end.
Was it him who actually did this? I remember a
Yes,
story
yes.
coming out about
He was an actual, like there was an experiment when he was in a subway in DC, and he was playing on that Stradivarius inconspicuously, and very few people stopped to listen.
I think I heard that.
And you can actually look that up on YouTube. It's called the Joshua Bell Experiment. Okay? So, and if you don't have a partner here today, like why don't Morgan and Reveal get together and brainstorm together, okay? So you are looking for what concept would you want to teach or pull from the story, what concept from reading you would want to pull from the story, and how you can use music or incorporate music to teach that concept. And remember that it has to be co-equal. So you would probably want to do, I'm going to let you brainstorm, then I'll talk. So go for it. Take a couple minutes.
I didn't see the whole thing. Thank you for you could use was it like the
That's how
like
Morgan saw
black, like the rain and the weather. You could do that.
Well, I guess like
Or the
we could do like something like that. where she says-
Weather, transportation. I wish I would have seen that thing.
we could also use the part where they're actually playing the violin. Or they're just making music for the story.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, because if you go into that stuff, you could have them
Like
think like brainstorm ways that they could make the sound of rain or sound of train with certain instruments. You know what I mean? You could have them in groups and give them 3 instruments and have them figure out how to make rain or
You could do that, or maybe like every time
creating some.
he hears like the music on the radio or passes the guy with the violin, somebody could play an instrument or something and teach. Like repeating back.
we're trying to use
You could do that.
Yeah, I'm not good at this. What was that thing that you said to me about? You said you had an idea.
we could do the street. And so like we do like a rain dance or something like that. Dance like way back then.
Mm-hmm.
And like give them an idea of what it is. Why be?
And have them try and come up with one.
Take maybe like another minute or
Yeah.
so.
And then we could demonstrate one and then have them try and perform that.
Exactly.
So they get to predict, observe, and experiment. You need that with this, predict, observe, and experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah, them get in groups and predict what they think a violin would sound like, or what instruments they think would make the noise with.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this as a whole class. So Shannon and Sarah, what you all come up with?
Well, we were thinking about doing something with like the timbre of like the violin and like the subway and that kind of stuff because they all sounded different. But we weren't quite sure how to work that into something else.
So maybe creating a soundscape to accompany the story.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to say what environment is what setting, we could talk about setting
Okay.
as a reading concept, right?
Yeah.
That's a definite reading concept that we have to teach our students how to do. And then we could set up a soundscape with non-pitched percussion instruments or even pitched percussion instruments to kind of represent that setting. So what were the 2 settings in this story? Or there was actually 3, right?
The apartment, subway.
Apartment, subway, and then the first one was the street, right? Okay. So we could have 3 separate, we could divide students up into 3 different groups and give them some non-pitched percussion instruments. Or even have, if you didn't have any instruments in your classroom, which probably is the actual case, have them create instruments from the things that they have on their desk. Why not do that? And have them create soundscapes. So, and that would be like a timbre exploration, musical concept like that, and then also a reading concept as well. What else did you all come up with?
We were thinking back to when the like substitute teacher was here. I don't remember her name.
Anne?
Yes, Anne.
Okay.
When she was like saying that even though there's not like a like sing along part in the book that you can like include one for like the students to be involved. So we were saying like that every time he hears like the guy play the violin or like heard it on the radio and dancing with his mom, like there could be like a repeated back with the like children and include like rhythm and melody kind of. I don't know.
Okay, so you're talking about creating some kind of chant to accompany the story.
Yeah.
So how could you do that co-equally? Because just telling them the chant is not, that's one viable way to use it in your classroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that's wrong, and it's completely and totally valid, and it's a great thing to do.
You have to work on cues, wouldn't you?
Well, just give me 1 second.
Oh,
And
sure.
so you're on the right track. But how, remember like last week how we talked about you have to incorporate both, you have to teach a musical concept, not just do one.
Right.
So
I don't know, we were just kind of brainstorming from there and just thought of kind of like, I guess teaching them, we could, I don't know, with like rhythm.
you could have them create an ostinato
Okay.
by pulling out certain aspects of the story.
Okay.
Like we could talk about the setting if we wanted to go back there, or any other thing, you know. And we could say, all right, so it's in the subway, street, and apartment. So how can you say those words to a steady beat in your groups? Just figure that out really quick. Go. How could you say those words in your group to a steady beat?
Street, apartment, subway.
Yeah, now keep a steady beat and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That sounds more like a chant.
Make it 4 beats long. Figure out how to say it in 4 beats. Go.
Street.
Okay, here we go. Group practice. 1, 2, ready, go.
Subway, street, apartment.
Oh wow, that was really good.
No.
So I tell you street, apartment, subway. That's what you were doing, right, Morgan?
Yeah, I don't
So that's how you would do it. So now they've actually created that. Now here, can we notate that? Let's pick Sarah's over here. What was it, Sarah?
Mine
Yeah.
or theirs?
Yours.
I
And
was-
go.
Subway, street, apartment.
Subway, street, apartment. Subway, street, apartment. T, 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 ta, ta. That's the rhythm of it, right? So now we've created our own ostinato and we've notated it. So I'm teaching rhythmic notation with that. And that's now it's co-equal. It's just one extra step. But I'm really looking for that, are you teaching some kind of musical concept? Got it?
Mm.
What else did you all come up with? Mary Lissa?
We did, before you started the story, ask what they know about a violin and ask them what they think is going to happen in the story based on the illustration on the cover.
Okay.
And then during the story, we
Which,
did-
by the way, is not a musical concept. Listen, always have your students predict.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, here's a story. What do you think is going to happen? Let's find out. What does that do? First of all, it engages what?
Imagination.
Imagination. That's exactly right. Secondly, what does it do?
I mean, they're gonna be more involved.
They're going to be more involved and they're going to pay attention. Bingo. There you go. So, keep on going.
Then during, we thought about making them make the train noises whenever the train was mentioned and all like the hustle or whatever. And then they could play their own violin every time, like just to make it clear.
Okay, if we wanted to do that, what would be your musical concept?
We didn't have one, that was just to keep them engaged in the story.
Okay, so I would suggest having them sequence the story. This comes first, second, third, fourth, fifth, right? And use musical instruments to do that. So every time you heard the word music, some music would play. Every time you heard the word Dylan, Dylan would have a musical instrument that would represent him. The mom would have a musical instrument. The violin would have a musical instrument, correct? But here's the thing, what makes it co-equal? So we could tell them that, correct? But the better way to do things would be to have them,
Like, would they figure out which person goes with which instrument?
I would love them to explore the instruments and figure out which instrument would be best represented by what person, okay?
So you first read the story and then go back and do
Then go back and say, okay, now we need to retell the story through music. And so here's some non-pitch percussion instruments, or their bodies, or, see what I'm saying? You could do anything like that. And in groups, figure out, that's Dylan, that's the mom, you know, boom, 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 boom. That could be violin, you know? So that sort of thing. So, and that's teaching them co-equally, because they're exploring what?
The sounds.
Sounds, which we call timbre, right? Yes. What did you all come up with?
Well, I was just wondering if this isn't necessarily what we said, but if this would be acceptable if you had the right amount of time in your class and you're in a general ed classroom or something and you want to incorporate music. If you had, you know, some stuff that would make up instruments, like a little rain stick or something, you know what I'm talking about? If you put the students in a group and you gave them a little bit of the materials and you were like, make something that produces a rain noise, make something that produces a train noise, something like that, or is that too much?
It would depend on how much time you had. And I'm gonna let you know, because I've been where you're going to be, you don't have that much time.
Oh.
Okay? You might have like something on a Friday. Here's the deal. This story right here really lends itself to my classroom right now. In your class, you're probably gonna have a reading curriculum that you have to go by. And every week's going to be a new story. Okay? But if you can do this here in this classroom, you can take those exact same concepts and apply them to any story that you want. And what I'm really doing is just giving you the tools to supplement or maybe access a different learning style. So how many different ways can I introduce comprehension for this story? I can read it to them and have them do a worksheet, or I can have them create something in small groups and then come back and share. So those are two different points of access for the same concept. So, and you're gonna have to figure out what works best for you. But hopefully you'll have time to do them both. So, and reach as many people as you possibly can. So, okay. Other stuff, over here. What did you all come up with? That's okay.
We were talking, we finally got to in the story, we would have them recall different ways different words they used to describe music, and then we were gonna play them a piece of music and relate it back to those terms that the class popcorned out, because they talked about pitch and high and low.
And we're gonna, I have something written down that's very similar to that, and you're on the right track, and I like the way you're thinking. And we're actually gonna do an activity here in a second. Yes, we are. That might help you formulate that idea a little bit further.
Cool.
Okay? So, Kelsey and Aaron?
We kind of just talked about the aspect of the words they use rumble and stuff and roar and
What do we call those words? No, remember they're
Onomatopoeia.
onomatopoeia
Okay,
words.
yeah.
Okay? Which, by the way, is a second grade concept in Common Core Standards. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Onomatopoeia. So, what if every onomatopoeia word had a certain musical sound? That's a really great tie-in for musical instruments and timbre exploration, is that I'm probably not going to play a little triangle if the word is roar, right? So, and that could be an idea that you could go with, and choose a story that has something like that in it. And there's lots of great stories out there that, do that. Also, what about, remember, all those books about, there wasn't a woman who swallowed a fly, I don't know why she swallowed a fly, and then she swallowed a bat, and then she swallowed a bear, or something, that sort of thing. But there's a very strong sequence in that story, correct? Why not have a different instrument for each one of those characters? I had students in the past, so you can't use this now. I'm just giving you an example, so don't use this, that did the very hungry caterpillar. And every single fruit that the caterpillar ate was a different sound. And then they had to, so they read through it, and then they had the students explore what non-pitch percussion instrument would be for a pear, apple, orange, that sort of thing. And there is no right answer, by the way. That's not a thing. And then they retold the story through music. Okay? So, what I would like for you to do now, though, is we're going to do a little activity with fluency. So here's the things that I had. Onomatopoeia words with instruments, I came up with that from the story. sequencing with instruments, like telling the story first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, with different characters that have different names. What about verbs and movement? There was all kinds of these very descriptive verbs in this story.
Like going down, or like on his tiptoes.
Well, down, down, down's not a verb.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I know, but
Yeah,
like,
but you could pick out any parts of speech and do like locomotor versus non-locomotor movement if you wanted to. We might do an activity on Friday that does that actually. So think about those sort of things. So let me see here. We're going to unfreeze that. I'm going to go back to here. I'd like for you to stand up and divide yourselves into groups of
Bursting
4.
out of the top.
And then 1.
Use.
Okay, good. So let's have you 4 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. 1, 2, 3 right here, and 1, 2, 3 right here. So one person, Aaron, Cassidy, Reville, and Morgan Flaherty, go grab a barred instrument for me, please. And then here are some mallets for other people.
Group of 4.
Here we go. That's for your all's group. That's for your all's group. That's for your all's group. Thank you, and this is for your all's group. Okay, good. So just put the barred instrument down. Don't play it yet. Here's what I would like for you to do. Fluency is, we're going to put teacher hats on for just a second. Fluency is the rate and speed and expression at which we read something. Have you all studied reading yet? Reading instruction? Maybe some of you have. So fluency is the rate and speed at which we read and the expression in which we do it. So I do this activity all the time without musical instruments and acting, but we're going to do it today with musical instruments. So I'd like for you to start right here, the high notes, and we're going to take those 3 sentences. Repeat after me. The high notes soar to the ceiling.
The high notes soar to the ceiling.
The low notes swoop to the floor.
The low notes swoop to the floor.
All the notes swirl and sweep.
All notes swirl and sweep.
Around the blur of people rushing here and rushing there.
Around the blur of people rushing here and rushing there.
So what are the high notes doing? They're going towards the ceiling, and the low notes are going towards the
Floor.
And then what's happening next? They're swirling and rushing from here to there. Okay? So here's what I'd like for you to do. Happy, sad, angry, excited. Your job is to practice reading those 3 sentences in that feeling. Go. No, we're not playing yet. Your job is to practice reading these 3 sentences in that feeling. Happy, sad, angry, excited. I should hear people reading out loud right now, in groups. There you go. That's really good, Gabby. Seriously, that's good. Yeah. Okay, group practice. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, read.
The high notes soar to the ceiling. The low notes
I should hear lots of like things happening.
all the notes swirl and sweep around the blur of people rushing here and rushing there.
I'm really surprised that we all started together and all ended together. Right? Because we have different feelings, so probably excited. Do you think you would read it faster or slower? Probably a little bit faster. What about sad? Faster or slower? Okay, so now I really like angry. How would you read it? It would depend on how angry you were, right? You might not even read it at all, you know? So think about it like that. So now I need for you to really actually define that feeling while you read. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, read.
The high notes soar to the ceiling. The low notes swoop to the floor. All the notes swirl and sweep around the blur of people rushing here and rushing there.
Okay, that's much better. And I saw people start and stop, and we heard highs and lows in our voices. So here's what I need for you to do. You have those feelings. Now I want you to make or create a musical composition on your barred instrument to depict the high notes and the low notes and the people rushing here and there in that feeling. Got it? So I'll give you about a minute to do that. You can play now. So the high notes are going where? Up, and then the low notes in your feeling. So you probably would play your high notes. See what I'm saying? So you're gonna have excited high notes, excited low notes, and then excited notes that go all around. Right? Yeah.
Well, you need more than one note.
And then the low notes, and then the notes that rush here and there. Good job, second graders. Yeah.
The low notes are Are we still doing the tone of like Saturday?
Yep.
Yeah, we're still doing our tone. I think if we did like the high notes
Okay, thumbs up if you got what you're doing.
No.
We all have what we're doing, I promise. So here's the deal. We are going to, you can go in there if you need to. You're out. It's just my office. So here's the deal. We're going to make this a rondo form. We're all going to read the sentence together in just a regular expression. And then we're going to go to the happy group. And they're going to read, and they're happy. And then they're going to play their musical instrument piece. And then we're all going to go back to the A, and we're going to read together. And then we're going to go to the sad. You're going to read and play. Then everyone's going to read together. And we'll go, and then here and there. So here we go. Yes?
Am I playing while my group is reading?
No, you're going to, and we're not playing right now. Everyone's going to read together. Okay, hold on just 1 second. Just give me your attention, because that's when, like, we're asking questions. Everyone's going to read together those 3 sentences. Then we're going to go to the happy group. You all 4 are going to read those 3 sentences in as happy, and then you're going to play. And then we're all going to read again, and then we're going to go here, and then you're going to play. Read and then play. All together, read, play, all together, read, play, all together. Got it? And then we're going to talk about it. So let's start. Here we go. Ready? Go. The high notes soar to the ceiling. The low notes swoop to the floor. All the notes swirl and sweep around the blur of people rushing here and rushing there. Read it happy. Go.
The high notes soar to the ceiling. The low notes swoop to the floor. All the notes swirl and sweep around the blur of people rushing here and rushing there.
The high notes soar to the ceiling. The low notes swoop to the floor. All the notes swirl and sweep around the blur of people rushing here and rushing there.
The high notes soar to the ceiling. The low notes swoop to the floor. All the notes swirl and sweep around the blur of people rushing here and rushing there. Okay, low notes.
It's like tears.
Oh, that's too happy.
I'm glad that you fixed that though, honestly. So, the high notes soar to the ceiling. The low notes swoop to the floor. All the notes swirl and sweep around a blur of people rushing here and rushing there.
The high notes soar to the ceiling. The low notes swoop to the floor. All the notes swirl and sweep around the blur of people rushing here and rushing there.
The high notes soar to the ceiling. The low notes swoop to the floor. All the notes swirl and sweep around the blur of people rushing here and rushing there.
The high notes soar to the ceiling. The low notes swoop to the floor. All the notes swirl and sweep around the blur of people rushing here and rushing there.
Oh. The high notes soar to the ceiling. The low notes swoop to the floor. All the notes swirl and sweep around the blur of people rushing here and rushing there. Okay, teacher has to on for a second. So I kept on speeding up every time we got back to the A section we were reading together. I sped it up every single time. Why? Because you should be able to read it faster. And remember, fluency is the rate and speed at which you read. So I'm not saying read it super fast, like, well, you're too young, never mind. So but I do want to move us along. We should be able to do it faster and faster as we go. So now we're going to have teacher talk, conversation about how you would facilitate this activity, first of all, and why I did it with these 4 feelings. Because, put your student hat on for a second. What feeling should we read these 3 sentences in? Should it be happy? Should it be sad? Should it be angry? Or should it be excited? And think about what's happening in the story right now.
Should be exciting.
Why should it be exciting? I would agree, but why?
It says the music is telling an exciting story.
Oh, the music is telling an exciting story. Oh my goodness gracious. Thank you for using context clues. That's exactly right. So then we would all probably, oh, that's okay. Then we would all probably like play it like that sort of thing. So teacher hat back on. What's the point of this?
To show that you can use different notes for different feelings, or like different types of notes. for different-
Okay, so musical expression is what I think you're getting at, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what is the reading concept? Fluency, and what specifically about it? Expression. Okay? Should you be doing these activities with your students? I hope so. Please, dear God. You know, because then we would have little robots that read like this all the time, and that would be really awful. Okay? So that's what fluency does, is that it's the ability to read things and use context clues on how to read and state things. What musical concept are we working on?
Highs and lows.
Highs and lows. Good pitch. So it's a melodic concept, right? What other concept are we working on that might not be music and might not be reading?
Feelings.
Okay, so we're in that affective domain as well as the cognitive domain. Good. What else? It's the #1 attribute that new employers are looking for in new hires. Or employees are looking for in new hires. There we go. And I think that it's pushed aside in a lot of classrooms.
Demeanor.
Not demeanor.
Give us a hint.
Well, it's not hangman, so it's the #1 attribute that employers are looking for in new hires right now.
Responsibility.
Not responsibility, no.
Confidence.
Confidence, no.
Is it emotional intelligence?
Nope.
Being
Not group
enthusiastic.
skills, nope. We'll play some hangman, it starts with a C.
Courage.
Cooperation.
No. CR.
Creativity.
Creativity, yes. That's the #1 attribute that employees are looking for in new hires, is creativity. How often do we have a chance to teach that in our classrooms?
Oh, not every day.
Really? Because I sure as heck
Not that
didn't
often.
when I was teaching 1st grade.
If in the activities that you, instead of just doing like a simple worksheet, you could have the kids or the students create their own worksheet or do something more creative with that.
Okay,
I
I will let you know that is an ideal world and I would love to live there. Okay? I think we all should live there. However, I will also let you know that you're going to have 25, approximately, people to be responsible for in your classroom who all think differently, act differently, and you have to manage them for 6 hours a day. Also, on top of that, you have a curriculum that is, you have to teach. You don't get to design your own curriculum. Here's my books that I'm giving to you, teacher editions, boom, you have to teach all this stuff. This is what you have to do. For reading, math, social studies, science, and maybe even health and PE, depends. Or music, maybe, I hope not. And so, seriously. Well, you're not going to school to be a music teacher, are you? Yeah,
Wait,
okay.
that's
We're all trying to
easier.
take your job.
Yeah, please don't take my job. What?
Wouldn't that be easier in a music classroom though?
What?
To use creativity every day?
Yeah, sure could.
If you're a
But
good
do they do
teacher,
it? No.
Yeah.
We also have, as music teachers, a curriculum that we have to teach.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Exactly. Thank you, Sugar Brown, or whatever her name is, Georgia Brown. So, so does this make sense? So I really think that any kind of having them create something is a really important aspect. And I've been teaching that all semester with that experiential component to things. So we have about 8 minutes left and we can do this. So I need for you to put the instruments back, go back to your seat and grab a piece of paper and a pen.
Am I out of the group? I'll take these. No, they go in there. They go in the little thingy.
While you're doing that, I also came up with a few other things that we could do with this story. What about dramatic play and acting the story out with musical accompaniment? You could totally do that. Have them create their own music to do like maybe sound like a subway or maybe sound like a violin, that sort of thing, in small groups. And it doesn't have to be good. I mean, I hope it's good, but it at least has to be like something of their own creation, right? That's the whole point of these things. Okay. No. So I need for you to please take out a piece of paper. And we are going to listen to a piece of music. No. You need it. No. Okay, so I need for you to think about, we're in a 4th grade classroom right now, okay, so it's a little bit older than what we've been doing. So, and we've just started, I just told you this wonderful story, and we've diagnosed it, and we figured out that a plot diagram is made up of a protagonist and antagonist, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. So we're studying plot diagram and writing, okay? So I'm going to put on a piece of music, and what I would like for you to do is think about it. And there's 2 things that I want you to think about. There's a protagonist and an antagonist. The protagonist is usually what? The hero, right? The antagonist is usually the bad guy or villain, right? Okay, so in this story that you're going to listen to right here, you're going to be introduced to the bad guy first, actually. And it's going to be a flute and a violin that are moving very quickly. When you hear the other, like the lower strings come in and some horns, that is the hero's theme, or the protagonist. Okay? So, listen to the story, write down what you think's happening in different parts, and I'll help you along. Antagonist. What feeling does it feel like right now? Does he feel happy?
Yeah.
He does feel happy? Okay.
Oh.
Seems slightly agitated too, maybe. Maybe something's making him anxious. Something's happening here. We haven't been introduced to the hero yet, so we've passed to some violins now. That's the hero. But you still hear that the villain is still underneath that, it's still moving. There's 2 different things happening at once right here.
That
What do you
person
think's
is a
happening?
villain.
Yeah. Do you think the hero sounds happy right here? He's almost nostalgic. He's longing for something, or she, whichever one you want. There's something interesting. It's getting a little bit louder. Something might be happening here.
They're about to fight.
Maybe not yet. That's the antagonist. Sounds a little bit more grand now. hear lots of drums in the background. We're getting faster here. Much louder now, right? So what do you think's happening here? Write it down. Something happens. Chord right here, and then it's going to slowly die out, so fade away. Okay, so, and then I would have a discussion of what were your stories about. We would listen to it again and have them refine that activity a little bit. Okay, so what were the concepts other than music?
Interpreting the music into your own, like, imagination, I guess.
So we're in the affective domain here, you're exactly right. And like the musical concept is thematic material. Here's theme 1, here's theme 2, how do they interact? And did you tell like a super happy story from the beginning? Probably not. Did the music dictate that? So that's what I'm assessing for. That's my musical concept. Are you writing down that conflict there? Because you can hear the two things fighting against each other. Hold on just 1 second, please. I have just 1 minute, okay? So, and then what is the other concept that we're working on? We're writing stuff, what's happening? Plot diagram, correct? So this would be a nice introduction to, like, every single culture has its own hero story. So you could go many different places with this, right? We can do writing stuff, we could do social studies with this, we could do a million different things with just this one activity. So really think about these things, and we're gonna come back on Friday and do some more activities like this to help you with your final project development. Have a wonderful day.
You guys so pretty today. You got makeup on?
It's like a once a
Is
week
this on
thing.
or off?
You're on it.